Hey there, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast, the show that's all about helping photographers just like you build a thriving business without sacrificing your sanity. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned full-time photographer and marketing coach, here to fill your earbuds each week with practical tips, real-life stories, and a whole lot of encouragement. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get to it because this girl means business. Hey friend, welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast for another week of some valuable marketing tips and advice. All right, this week we are full on into summer, and I want to talk a little bit about how to get ahead. How to get ahead in your content, how to get ahead in your editing workflow, how to get ahead just so that you feel like you're not always barely keeping your mouth and nose above water when it comes to your business. And I spent a lot of years doing things the hard way, meaning basically I was always just kind of keeping like barely one step ahead of where I needed to be. And part of this is my personality type. I am an Enneagram 7. I'm definitely not a type A. I'm kind of like a type C personality where I'm like somewhere or like what is it, type A and type B, but I'm like a type A and a half, I guess you would say. So there are certain things that I'm very, very particular about. And there's other things that I'm very go with the flow with. Most things fall more into the go with the flow category. So an example of this might be if I know that I have a session coming up on Saturday and it is Friday afternoon and my session is Saturday afternoon, I'm just now kind of starting to think about like, oh, I need to make sure my batteries are charged. Or sometimes it's even Saturday morning and I'm like, oh yeah, I should charge my batteries. Oh, I should make sure I know where I'm going for sure. And I'm double checking and I'm going back through the information for the session and figuring out where we're meeting and all these things. A type A personality is probably one who's like 3 days before you are on top of it. You've already scouted the location. You know exactly the spot you're going to park, how long it's going to take you to get there. So for me, I'm somewhere in between. And what that causes is a lot of times in my business, I have found myself just kind of barely getting by. And it's not always a comfortable place to be in, especially when you come upon like the summer season and you have vacations coming up and you know you're going to be like out of office for a week or two, or the busy fall season comes up and you know you're going to be slammed with sessions from October to early December, and then the holidays hit and you just every year you find yourself like just doggy paddling to survive. So I want to help you figure out a system that's going to help you feel like you're getting ahead. Okay, so let's start with number one, which is something I just started doing in the last couple of years. And that is to create an overarching long-term calendar for my business. So this is something I've struggled with for a long time because I am very much a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person. And so I don't like the idea of having something planned out so far in advance that it doesn't leave room for flexibility or doesn't leave room for new ideas or new things that come up. So the way that I do my long-term calendar is I do it in about 6-month chunks. So kind of every, half a year and half a year. And this works for me. Now I will start knowing that the second half of my year is usually busier than the first half. I will kind of start planning out the second half a little earlier than I do the first half. But what it allows me to do is it allows me to create a long-term plan so that I know things aren't sneaking up on me at the last minute. So a perfect example of this is I see every single year around Thanksgiving time. Of course, everybody a week or two before starts panicking going, should I be doing a Black Friday sale? Should I be offering something for Black Friday? And if you are just starting to think about Black Friday 2 weeks before, you're way late to the game. And the best things that you can do in your business is to really plan in advance so that you already have this idea mapped out. You can start talking about it early on. You can tease it out to your audience. You have everything ready to go so that you're not creating everything on the fly. And so by mapping out the second half of your year starting now, even if we're already into month 7, but that's okay. Mapping out the next 5 months of your year and going, okay, I know that I want to do a Black Friday offer. I know that I want to do maybe a holiday sale, or I'm going to do mini sessions in December for Santa. So I need to start talking about them early November. Or I know that I'm going to get swamped with, family sessions, or I want to be booking those for October and November. So I need to start marketing those now. It allows you to start thinking ahead so that you can go, okay, I know that if I'm going to run a Black Friday offer on Black Friday, I want to maybe open it up Black Friday and run it through Cyber Monday. So a total of 4 days. Okay, what am I going to offer? Well, I'm going to offer X amount off of normal sessions, plus you get a free 8x10 framed print with your session. That's my Black Friday offer. Okay, then you can kind of work backwards from there and go, okay, well, if I want to offer this, my goal is maybe to book 10 of these sessions over that weekend, or 5 sessions over that weekend. Here's how much it's going to cost me. Do I want to run ads? Do I want to talk about this in my Facebook group? Do I need to create an email series that sends this out? And if you're working backwards, you can kind of map out and go, I need to start doing this around the end of October. So it gives me a full or close to a full month, depending on when Black Friday falls, to talk about it, to tease it, to share information with my audience so they know that it's coming and they can be prepared. Because the most common thing I see happen is people will say, well, I opened up my mini sessions and I opened them up on Friday at 3:00 and nobody booked. Okay, well, you have to know that if you're opening up mini sessions on a Friday at 3:00, most people are not, or they're done with their work week. They're going into the weekend where they're spending less time on social. They're not really paying attention to their email. Same thing with Black Friday. They're bombarded with information on Black Friday. So how can you make your offer stand out? Maybe instead of doing a Black Friday sale, you offer something the week before Black Friday or the week after Black Friday. So knowing this information and giving yourself space away from in the moment allows you to really plan ahead and plan for better opportunities. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't hear about an idea or come up with an idea or have an opportunity come up in between and fill in those spots. You can still do that. But having a long-term picture for your year or for your quarter or for your half a year, your 6-month mark, it can really help you to start putting things in place in your business. Which leads me to my second point, which is batching your content. So these two, in my opinion, go hand in hand. So a perfect example of this are these podcast episodes. So I knew going into my summer that we had a lot going on this summer. It is not a super casual, relaxed summer. It's also a very short summer for us because my kids' school are going to 4-day school weeks next year, which means they are starting at school a week earlier. So my kids actually go back to school the first week of August, which is crazy pants, but that's just how our schedule fell. So we only get about 8 weeks of summer. And in that time, we have a vacation plan that's like over a week long. My husband and I are taking a trip for a concert. We have 4th of July at our friend's lake house. My kids both have camps and activities and athletics and basketball and dance competitions and all of these things going on. So I knew that my summer was going to be busy, busy, busy. So to prepare for that and to ensure that I had episodes that were going to go out every week, that I have emails that are going to go out letting people know about the episodes, that I have social content ready to go out about each episode, I have sat down and created all of that content in advance so that I can take off June and July and enjoy my time at home, enjoy my summer and go travel, do all the things and know that all of this is happening behind the scenes running for me. And I've already done all of the work. Now, you don't need a big vacation plan to do this. It can also just know that like you have, if you're a family photographer or you have seasons of the year, you're a wedding photographer and you know that your fall is going to be really busy with weddings. You're a family photographer, you know your fall is always packed with weddings and all your marketing kind of falls off to the wayside because you're so busy with sessions and editing and all the things. If you plan ahead and you say, okay, I know that October and November are always my busiest months. Then we have the holidays. I want to have enough content created, whether it's social content or blog content or email content, or whatever content you're creating, if you can have most of that done and scheduled, then your business, your marketing is still running itself while you're off doing the other things. And that is the ultimate goal, is that your marketing is doing its thing. You sit down once or twice a month, you plan everything out, you schedule everything out, and then it just runs behind the scenes while you're off doing the thing that you started this business for in the first place, which is sessions, taking pictures, being there for your clients, editing your photos, doing all the things that you actually enjoy in your business. And so batching your content, this is not a new concept. I'm not inventing something radical. Everybody talks about this. But the key here is that in order to successfully batch your content, you have to do a couple of things. At least in my opinion, you have to do a couple of things. What works for me is, one, I like to map out ideas. So again, going back to that big picture calendar, I'm not just putting on the calendar like these big promotion things. Like for example, on my big yearly calendar, I have May and October are my launches for my coaching membership. So I just finished up my first launch for founding members in May. I will have my second launch in October. Those are on the calendar. Having those on my calendar allows me to then look at what's happening in between those things. So between May and October, my 2 launches for the Greenhouse coaching membership, I have all the other things that I'm going to be working on in between those mapped out on my calendar. Then what I can go in and I can do is I can say, okay, each week I need to be putting out content. For me, it's blog and email specifically, and the podcast. So I can go, okay, what's happening around these certain times of the year that I can create content for? Well, when I'm batching for the summer, I want to be talking about things that you who are home for the summer with your kids are going to be relevant to you. So back in like April, I'm mapping out this content. I'm going on the calendar. I'm going, okay, when's the best time? Well, if I'm going to do an episode on how to prepare for your summer break, I don't want to do that in July. I want that to come out in May or early June. So I'm going to make sure that's on the calendar for end of May, early June. If I want to do an episode on back to school and getting back to a routine, I'm not going to publish that in June. So I'm going to put that on the calendar for July or August. So just kind of knowing what's happening in your business and also just with your clientele can help you map these things out. So I go through and I create topics for each of the weeks for the episodes for the podcast. Then I go in, I record the episodes, and then I create the sound bites. I do that all through like Buzzsprout. I create the emails, I create the blog post that goes along with it, and I schedule all of those out. So I might sit down on a Monday and record all my episodes for 2 months worth of content on one day. Then on Tuesday, I come in and I write all the blogs and I write all the emails, because typically my emails are just a snippet of the blog in some version that all leads back to the podcast. Then I schedule those out. Then on Wednesday, I can go in, I can say, okay, I'm going to now make little sound bites of the episodes that I think are going to be the most popular ones. And I'm going to create those sound bites inside of my podcast app. And I'm going to schedule those out on social media, or I'm going to create other posts to go out on social media. I'm going to schedule those out. So within like a 2 to 3 day window, I now have created 2 months worth of content that is all aligned, that is all pre-planned. It's all leading to the bigger picture. It's not just throwing spaghetti at the wall saying, oh, this sounds good on this day and this sounds good on that day. It all has a purpose and a direction. And if I know that my purpose and my direction is leading towards something, whether it is a launch, whether it is a Black Friday sale, whether it is my fall family sessions, it's all leading towards an endpoint. And everything can be pointing towards that thing, if that makes sense. Like instead of just aimlessly going, well, I'm going to throw this thing on social media and then tomorrow I'm going to talk about this thing. You're like, no, my ultimate goal is to book more sessions in the fall. So everything I'm doing in June, July, and August needs to lead towards that. And that can help you batch your content. If you have something to go towards, if you have a goal in mind and you create that goal by mapping out your bigger picture plan for your business, calendar wise, it can really help give you focus and clarity on how to batch. Because what I hear a lot of people say, and the reason I kind of wanted to go in this direction with this episode, is that I hear a lot of people say, okay, I know I'm supposed to batch my content, but I feel like now I'm just creating content for the sake of creating content. Like I'm just sitting down and I'm writing random blog posts, or I'm I'm grabbing whatever I can find in my files and my archives and I'm throwing them up on social media. That is not beneficial batching. If you want your batching, your content creation to be beneficial, it needs to have an end goal. That's why the big picture calendar is so helpful, because you set that end goal for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months down the road, and everything you work backwards and everything leads to that end point. So if you know that you are opening up your books for fall family sessions on September 1st, then all of your content for June, July, and August can revolve around the educating your audience on your family sessions, what it looks like, the booking process. Do you help with styling? What locations do you like the most? And you're pointing everybody in that direction. And then as it gets closer, you're going, okay, now I'm going to drop a little breadcrumbs that say, make sure you're prepared on September 1st. My sessions go quick. I only have certain dates available. They're limited, make it this big thing. And you're sprinkling those throughout your content for the 2-3 months leading up to it. And now you are preparing your audience. You're letting them know, hey, be ready. This is coming. And they're more likely to be like, yeah, I'm putting it on my calendar. I'm going to look for the email when it goes live and I'm ready to book my session. You're priming them for what you want your end result to be, but priming them takes time. You cannot just jump in. It's like preheating an oven. Okay, I can't just decide that I'm going to cook a pizza and open my oven and put it in and then turn the power on. I have to let it preheat and get hot enough that I can then put the pizza in and it cooks. That same kind of concept applies to your business. If you want to book more sessions in the fall, then creating your content now that's going to lead them in that direction. And then as it gets closer, if you batch that content now and you have it all scheduled out, then when it gets time to open up your fall calendar, you can sit down and batch your fall content that maybe leads to your Black Friday sale. And all of that is batched. It's all scheduled. And while you're doing your fall family sessions, you're slowly marketing your Black Friday sale. And then you kind of continue on from there. It becomes a snowball effect. You're always thinking 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months in advance. And you're able to do that because you've already batched the content. Now, does this require a little more work up front? Yes, because you kind of have to get ahead. So now in the summer, if this is a slower time, I know here in Texas, we're about to get really hot and humid. There's fewer people booking outdoor sessions. So it's a slower time for photographers. Use this time. Create a plan. Start batching your content and try to create 3 to 4 months of content so that you can take off 2 months, relax, enjoy the time with your family and friends. And then in 2 months, when September rolls around, you can sit down and go, okay, now I'm going to batch the rest of my content through the rest of the year, and that's done. But you always have to be staying a couple of months ahead so that you always have something going and you're not sitting around going, what am I going to post today? And then you're just, again, throwing spaghetti against the wall. So pre-planning, knowing kind of your calendar in advance, and then creating content in batches that you can schedule out and breadcrumb your audience throughout to point them where you want them to go, your next upcoming thing, is the best way to make sure that you're not just keeping your head barely above water, but you're actually swimming. You're floating gracefully through the waters, if that's the metaphor we're going to go for. But all right, so I hope that helps. If you have questions or thoughts on this topic, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. If you want to join my Facebook group, it's the Marketing Collective for Photographers. I will link to it down in the show notes. I am building up that group to be a conversation place where we go and we have discussions about the things that we talk about here on the podcast or about anything marketing related. So I would love for you to head over and join my Facebook group. And as always, you can reach out to me at kendra@girlmeansbusiness.com. Send me an email. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, I hope you have a fabulous week, and I will see you back here next week, same time, same place.